Surely there's nothing suspicious about the dungeon at the end of this. Hey everybody, welcome back to more Limbus Company. I'm SlayerMathis, and last time we took through we fought Dawn and fucking got our ass kicked. And this time, the final checkup. Dun dun dun. In we go. We're almost done with the regular checkup. Finally, we have a chance for you to overcome an adversity based on what you've learned thus far. And for me to prove my hypothesis. What hypothesis is he talking about? No need to worry, my hypotheses have never been wrong, most of the time. This experiment is entirely of my own design and supervision. And I'll faithfully follow my own pure curiosities and instincts as a researcher. I have a feeling we're not gonna like where this goes. Now, do you see this monolith here? I do, it's a monolith alright, but don't worry, my researchers will be the one to activate the artifact. Activate the artifact? Not on you, relax. I understand that none of you will be willing participants in this experiment. I swear, if you're gonna force us to distort saying that we have no right to refuse or something, I'm gonna... Yeah, hang on! Can't we do that even as your assistant? Yes, but if you must, we are willing to send the weakest singer amongst... Forget I said that. That was foolish of me to say. I'll be the subject of the experiment myself. You're going to distort yourself? Am I hearing you right? Aren't you curious to see what kind of distortion you end up becoming? I'm sure this is a question you have all entertained at least once. No, I'm curious. And it wasn't pleasant experience either. Stop gritting your teeth like that, assistant. Will have an adverse effect on your long-term dental health. What if you just end up turning into a Precatulum? Becoming a Precatulum, just another one of the fodder we slaughtered on our way through the test earlier. You risking that? It is indeed a possibility. It would signify nothing more than my very own limitations. Just a mediocre shell. If such an incident comes to pass, these employees will transfer me to a containment unit. We've made a bet on what kind of Precatulum I would turn into. You bet on Goulet, I bet on Individuae and her Ambiguitiae. But how could you... Think about it like this. If I were to become a Precatulum, it would be akin to losing at a game of chance. Of course, what counts as a loss may depend on what I, at the precise time, consider to be losing, but the mere fact of turning into a Precatulum relieves me of any value to life. I'd say he was being too hard on himself, but that felt like too simple an expression to describe his tone. The company will most likely attempt to transport me to a containment unit, but I disagree with that decision. I would like to ask you to dispose of me on the spot. Well aware that I'm not the kind of congenial person who wins others' favors at first meeting, if at all. I also don't believe that our brief relationship has been the most amicable kind. Therefore, I see little reason why you would hesitate to cut me down. Of course, sitters with gentle hearts like this young Sinclair here may express certain distaste against this decision, but once I become a Precatulum, it may well mean that Hohenheim, the entity, has ceased to be. So I have no unnecessary emotions like guilt clouds your judgment to killing a Precatulum, a mere byproduct. But what if something unexpected happens? We're talking about your life here. Don't you have any manuals with a backup plans, or this is a very simple matter. Nothing more than a coin flip. Heads or tails. It appears you're still insisting on your absurd 50-50 theory. I'm a researcher who wishes to humiliate the field of mathematical statistics unlike the general lay of the academia. I believe there's a certain romanticism to research. It's much more exciting to run as many tests and gain as many samples as we can than to be stuck behind a desk pouring day and night over books and paper, isn't it? If it's tails, then you may dispose of me immediately, and the employees here will take care of the rest. Don't forget to destroy the key inside the coat pocket and the files inside my cabinets, for example. Yes, we remember. If I were to successfully distort, we would be halfway to success. My, for the first time, I'm feeling quite the envy for you all. I wish I could be a witness to my very own distortion. Huh? If you've been paying attention to my lectures, perhaps we could even come up with a classification for my distortion too, going by the standards we've discussed earlier. Not that I have a very high expectation that you would. I've recently come to the realization that people nod along to my words is not a signifier of comprehension, but instead an expression of societal niceties. Nods. Then the manager here will open the entrance to my dungeon of the fathoms, and you'll progress to the mirror dungeon, as you have always done when facing your distortion, to reach into its deepest fathoms to face my distortion once again. I wish you the best of luck in your suppression efforts. Next session. And once you've made it that far, it's likely you'll find me unconscious, or if luck would have it, conscious. Unconscious? You sure this is safe? As we have case-by-case variance to be expected. It may take some time for full recovery, but as will happen, should you concede. That reminds me. That's how this bamboo-headed Kim was brought back as well. Bamboo-headed Kim, he's recovered? He is safely contained within our facilities. It seems they're ready to activate the monolith. I'm confident that I, even as a distortion, will be quite the exceptional specimen. Hang on, just like that? You're not a Pikachu. Indeed, and I can still hear them. I remember. I still do. I know we'll be back, but gosh, this is pretty unnerving. No worry, we'll bring him back no matter what. The manager says we'll bring him back no matter what. Sure sounds like a dependable sort, this manager of yours. Very well. Please, take a look at this. No? Did you write a Simpson on to do this or something? He says all you have to do is read what's on the note for distortion. Apparently it's some kind of a code? I don't think you'll hear anything but ticking noises from me. Can you read this, Marceau? It'll be done as you commanded. Marceau nodded and began to read the words from the note aloud. The Lobotomy Corporation. 5 minutes. Potentiality. Dissipation. Right hand. No, Marceau uttered them. The all too familiar portal began to appear around Hohenheim's distortion, as though they were a key to a door. Scattering shards of familiar yet alien sights appeared intermittently beyond the shimmering veil. Hohenheim had already entered the portal as we stood there gawking, but we could still hear his voice echoing through the laboratory. I suppose I'll be forced to share my past here. The past I never wanted to share, the past no one cares to learn about. Something I must endure for the sake of this experiment. However, I didn't mean to expose every little detail of it. It's all in the past now anyway, isn't it? Hohenheim's a very interesting character. He's one of the better side characters, I would say, but not necessarily the greatest either. Starting point of the Dungeon of the Fathoms. We found ourselves in a room that appears to be a workshop of ego gears. We have stored below 100% synchronization in the empty chest. Take only a single ego from here. An ominous warning sign greets all of us, and same words repeat ceaselessly from the speaker. This is all good to take a look, enticed by the sign telling us that we can pick ego gears here, but we find there are ego gifts. Well, these aren't ego gifts. These are gifts or something, right? It appears as though the ego gifts just take them all. Dungeon of the Fathoms. As the difference from the usual mirror dungeons, it is highly advisable that the rules are followed. I'm trying to recall what all of these do. That is obviously a burn one. That one is it's a rupture. Cleaning solution spray. I actually don't know what this one is. Off the top of my head. Illusory hunt. Oh, just illusory hunt. I kind of thought that, but I wasn't certain. It's like illusory hunt's not really a high up thing I think about. Especially not as like a, oh, this is a big thing we're about to get. It's just illusory hunt. It's not bad when we're not running burn or rupture. What's going on with them? Good. It appears I could censor these with my own will, at least to a degree. Your mission here is to classify by distortion and reach the end of this Dungeon of the Fathoms and bring me back. Your mission, however, does not involve digging into my past. It appears that we have a passing familiarity with this place. You, us, what does this seek to convey? I don't believe any level of proper communication would be feasible given that you're in a Dungeon of the Fathoms. Well, then do something about it. I'm going to tell you that studying this dungeon is out of my hands. Had it been up to me, I would have manifested a place that was much more fascinating like this. Like that library, if you're able to have every book in existence. You used to work for the Lobotomy Corporation? One of my past careers, yes. Us. Diplomacy did not seem to be an option here, since people brandish their weapons threateningly and stood in our path. Looks like we're gonna have to take them down if we want to make any progress here. Can't be helped, let's get ready for a fight. I'm gonna speed through these, or actually probably fully skip these battles. But I will note about them that these censored agents all appear to be using Lantern, or some variant of Lantern. This is quite similar to what Lantern would look like, and that it's kind of shifting colors, but to me that looks most like a red armband, which would be disciplinary. Still working with Gebera. However, I do see a little bit of green. Green would be safety team with Netzik. But it is, the big thing is that they are Lantern or some variant of Lantern. These are fairly easy fights, the censored agents. We came across a group of researchers passionately poring over various documents. They were debating about two subjects, emotion and flame. Regular flames don't seem to hurt the abnormalities very much. So why does this work, I wonder?
Perhaps a greater degree of wrathful emotions opens up for the room for the fire's heat to touch abnormalities and distortions, both entities of the unknown.
They must have noticed us listening to their conversation intently. One of them approaches us with a glint in their eye.
Are you the sample that's agreed to this experiment? If so, try this on.
He reaches his hands with what looked like an ignition plug, or a testing machine of sorts. Yeah, I'm sure we're the samples. You gotta convince them with either wrath or lust. The 245 is the most realistic.
Oh, what an interesting reaction! Desensitization rate as well.
And the researcher liked what they saw? After scribbling the observations to various papers, the researcher let Heathcliff go. Heathcliff took off the gear and presented before the researcher to return it, but they simply shook their head in response.
The gear seems to fit you perfectly. Take it with you.
A reignition plug. We also get healing. Boy, it's more burn count stuff. The mirror dungeon, the gifts added with this. A lot of rupture, a lot of burn, and weirdly, something to help the base identities. So, yeah. So, how do we know this guy's actually distorted? It doesn't sound any different from his usual self. The sanity of degradation to distortion affects every subject differently. I mean, yeah, but censoring his own fathoms? But Hohenheim, you're in a dungeon of the fathoms. We'll see through it with Dante's power, whether you want to show us or not. You make a fair assessment. How about this, then? If you are to see the enemy, allow me to save you the trouble and give you a quick rundown instead. Come visit me as soon as you finish watching my tale. The sale began when that man walked into our laboratory. I had a personal laboratory all to myself. One of the few perks of being an elite researcher. This guy's just telling the story however he wants to, isn't he?
Oh, Mr. Hohenheim.
Let me think, I don't quite remember what he looked like. Something like this, perhaps? Whichever is the case, I was planning to censor his appearance anyways.
I want to talk to you about something.
Stop. You want to express your displeasure with me?
The what there?
If you are, please do let me know from the get-go. I had a feeling it was about time this would happen. 3 months, not a bad record for working without a workplace conflict. If it's about quitting, you would find much better audience with the human resources team.
No, I mean, I'm just here to thank you for picking me. Some dude from the back streets to work here. And it was you who made the hiring decision. I don't know how to put this, but you're the one who saw my, what's that word? Yeah, my potentiality. You saw something that no one's cared to look into before, you know what I mean?
But I'd had nothing to do with something so grandiose like his potentiality. Everyone does not hire people from the back streets for something so insignificant. While this information had never been publicly available, Lobotomy Corporation's primary criterion was trauma. Candidates with horrible, insurmountable trauma were often favored by the company. And in an indirect way, it's only natural they would begin to favor candidates who are originating from the back streets. Your greetings are acknowledged, Jimmy. Now feel free to leave my office.
Aye, Jimmy. Anyways, I've been meaning to ask Mr. Hohenheim, why do you always enjoy being alone?
It may come as a surprise to you, but I'm very adept at spending my time all on my own. It's one of the hundreds of distinguishing features that set me apart from ordinary men.
Say, don't you need someone to be like your royal man?
My right hand is doing just fine, thank you very much.
You also believe in potentialities, Hohenheim?
An unrelentingly stubborn employee, he was even in hindsight.
Thanks to you, I do. And I've been thinking, if I keep at it, one day I might even find myself living it larger than a nest, changing my world little by little. Kinda like how a thing like me managed to snag a position here at Lobotomy Corporation. So I'm thinking here, did I want to stick around in your circle?
To bring about such a drastic change in one's life, it isn't well of feasibility for an exceptional researcher like myself indeed, but you are, like most of the rabble, painfully average in most qualities and therefore unlikely to be the moving force in that change. I have no faith in universal things like potentialities. I have faith in myself and myself alone. Besides, I'm not very partial to the mathematical statistics like the probability theory anyway. So I would like to keep both my right and left hands as my own. Have a nice day.
Want to know something about me? I'm the kind of guy who doesn't really think about these things. Action for deliberation, you get me?
Thoughtlessly carefree. Possibly the only merit to be found in those who originate from the back streets. Or was that a thinly veiled threat of physical assault?
No, I'm not talking about the new... I'm talking about the new admiral that just got shipped here. It's a tricky one to manage, I'll tell you what. Reads your mind, screwing up all kinds of strategies or whatever, as long as it's based on hard logic. Why don't I shake for the Department of the Year award together?
You seem to be rather skilled in the art of transactions.
One of the few methods found within those who originate from the back streets.
admit, I was overcome by a certain ennui back then. And in hindsight, it was foolish of me to engage in such inane conversations. The remnants of my past come to haunt me. Perhaps it is I whom they truly wish to hurt.
It's finally in! The Department of the Year Award!
Indeed, I've finally done it. With some minor assistance from you, of course, and some other employees.
Come on, admit it. Don't you notice that a lot more employees are saying hello, good morning, and what you have here to you in the hallways compared to what your reputation was? A bit, you know. So, because I'm that good of a right-hand man?
I will admit that your intuitive and spontaneous eye was of some assistance when it came to identifying certain observations among abnormalities.
This is the potentiality I was talking about, man! The same thing you saw in me when you started to get me on board.
Apologies for ruining the moment, but the next few years quickly and busily flew by without much trouble. Of course, we picked up ourselves a few more Department of the Year awards, some promotions, and some collaborative researches. Yet, all things must come to an end. It must fall the bottom of the corporation for one.
Left off.
I don't suppose you have any trouble hazarding when they're all telling me, even as the words come out fragmented.
You left us.
Nothing but words of endless resentment.
You left us behind.
The fall of the former L Corp.
I remember what Miss Yuri told us. The site crumbled in an instant, trapped the employees in there with the abnormalities.
What is this sound?
Those thrushes quaking! What the hell is...
Initiating site burial in 100 seconds. Any remaining employees must immediately evacuate the structure. Counting down. 95. 94.
The escape pod's to the surface area, but there's only one seat left. They're saying that the next one's in 5 minutes.
Listen closely. At the risk of sounding rather callous, I must inform you that the chance of survival in cases of crises such as this is usually granted to only a very small minority of those affected. Some who prioritize the fairness of the process may settle on the primitive methods such as drawing lots to see who gets to escape, and in more barbaric groups, the survival would be decided by none other than the rule of might. However, I'm inclined to find myself among those who are on the side of intelligence, so I make this argument a suggestion before you. Compare yourself, whose sole final purpose in life is clinging to mediocre office jobs and making good on your debt payments, and me, who has produced several groundbreaking epochal theses and research results at such an early age. Whose life in your eyes is of greater worth? And that is how this tale ends. The compound collapsed 90 seconds later. Health employees of my department behind and boarded the escape pod elevator and survived. How could you? Not even a hint of remorse. Wrath is a hideous emotion. I'm here today only because I've maintained a cold, rational head. The L Corp breaks and Hohenheim's Dungeon of the Fathoms begins to crumble. Animal Spears, though his heart was crumbling as well. Well, now that that's over with, I invite you to come face me, the Distortion, and the experiment will come to an end. Finding and defeating this Distortion in a fight, I don't think that'll bring him back. I smell it. I agree. I'm still in deep waters here. This can't possibly be all there is to it.
I mean, it could be. We don't know.
We see the Phalanter within the containment unit. Cyan-hued fairy flutters toward the wiry ancient branches of the tree and softly lands on one of them. The branch seating the fairy sways, though to entice to get closer to them. Bright, countless yellow eyes glimmer from beneath the shadows beneath its roots. What a beautiful specimen, this Phalanter. Have you finished your observations? We've been learning a lot about their abnormality recently. There's still a lot of unknowns, but still. Speaking of which, here's a pop quiz. What ego gift can you get from the Phalanter?
That would be Midwinter Nightmare.
What in the money, you know your Phalanter? That's not all. Recently it's been giving out these things too. Take this with you. I'm just glad to have a run to a kindred soul. You see a bony twig. It seems to come directly from the Phalanter itself. We get twigs. For some more rupture. More of Hohenheim's Fathoms. Again, I'll do a little bit more research into some of this stuff later on when we get to the boss fight, but right now it's just Picatula. See, I probably could have done a little bit better if I didn't just win rate it, but that's fine, don't worry about it. At the end of this hallway, a group of researchers is having a discussion in front of an unnaturally dark place. And noticing our presence, their faces brighten up as they approach us. Please, will you investigate this area ahead for us? We will help you with the best of our abilities for you to accept.
Yeah, sure, why not? We're good people.
I love this as a proper enthusiast. I like your attitude. Take this with you. I'll help you in investigations. Returning the gear, the researchers walked with the sinners and began examining them. Once they're finished, the sinners were all in tip-top shape again. And I think this is the LCB one. Yeah. Oh, wait, is it just... It's actually not specifically LCB, it's just Limbus Company. Well... Okay. That's LCB and Ujat Otis. Oh, no! LCCB. I forgot about those. LCC8, whatever. We arrived at the entrance to Hohenheim's laboratory. This may be my final order to you. Either suppress me, return me safe and sound to where you came from, or fail the suppression, place me in a containment unit, and perhaps we can observe what happens next. Twin Heathcliff's on the show for. Oh no, I'm you. Do you still believe in that potentiality? Well, I do. That's what keeps me going. You only are researchers from the back streets, don't you? I had from them earlier. I told you you're right, pompous bloke, but thanks to you, they continue to research and believe that there might be things in the world that's worth working toward. Hohenheim did not like that. This fight is annoying. For one simple reason. Is part of subject of observation? Yes. So anytime that you are attacked or get attacked, you'll receive a level of subject of observation. But it effectively acts as a spike. He tends to get quite a bit of shield as well, which is quite annoying. He does actually have a sanity, which is pretty nice for us. Luckily, Hohenheim doesn't really have that high coin amount of moves, but it is still annoying that you're pretty much constantly getting spiked. Granted, it doesn't matter too terribly much in normal gameplay. It can be annoying for sure, but not to a massive degree. Something I wanted to bring up before was the lantern. All of the lantern guys from the censored people. That's fine. While obviously they do quite resemble Lantern, there is the possibility that they are an aberration. I feel like I may have mentioned aberrations before, I'm not 100% certain, but more or less, aberrations are variants of abnormalities. So I'm trying to think of the examples that they have. The reason that they don't really use the term is because it was one from Wonderlab. Wonderlab now non-canon. Whole issue with that I definitely have brought up before. Again, if I have mentioned it before, it has been a while, and it would be. It's been a while since I recorded it. So I'm just going to say that I haven't yet. So, I'm trying to think of the examples that they use. I believe one of the big ones was aberration of nothing there. That was everything there. Or something along those lines. I forget the exact nomenclature. But, again, they're essentially variants of the abnormalities that have their own different perks to them. Their own different quirks, perks, whatever you want to call them. They funky. Pink shoes is an aberration of red shoes. You have Ebony Queen's apple is an aberration of Snow White's apple. I think those are the main ones that we have. You Must Become Strong could be an aberration of We Can Change Anything. That's what it was. Had to remember for a moment. But could be, could not be, who knows. What plays your mind, manager? This impression never seems to be smooth sailing. And exactly as you've seen, manager, save a few parts that were censored. I conceal nothing from your view. I don't believe I've committed any wrong by escaping that place alone, leaving the others to be buried there. Now, of course, it may be reprehensible from a moral standpoint, but why would anyone ever look at it from that perspective, manager? Especially when you are well aware that in the city, such a perspective is entirely irrelevant and worthless. I feel his gaze on me. Like he said, the suppression isn't going well, but this feels wrong. That it shouldn't end like this. What should I tell him? What is Hohenheim trying to hide from us? We do have these. And I probably would rather get rid of the shield. You're running away from something. Possibly by worse than Hohenheim. Running away. An interesting point. But allow me to retort. My choice was not to run away. To deny and evade what has happened is two pathological choices. I'm very well aware that the only way to solve the problem is to face it head-on, which is another aspect of myself that sets me apart from the common man. When an issue arises, or in very rare cases where I find myself in a tumult of an emotional nature, I first attempt to establish a logical explanation. I reconstruct what was perceived to regulate my emotions. Expressing fury and anger is a plain waste of resources. But I must admit one thing. Now that I've conducted some levels of cold introspection, I will admit that it wasn't entirely mature of me to censor so much of my fathoms. Of course, this does not mean that I'll now remove the censored memories. My ego is not so feeble as to be shaken by a few words. I didn't really understand most of what Hohenheim was talking about, but I can't shake the thought that everything he's been saying was just an effort to distance himself from his own emotions. One thing that I'm realizing, maybe this is just how I have my audio set up, I feel like the audio might be a little bit too loud. My headphones are quite loud with it, so... Oh well. The music is very good in this game, of course, but you can deal without somewhat. Like right now we're already starting to take some spike that is at a noticeable level. Again, in solos, you're getting up to taking 20-odd damage per coin. Completely unavoidable. Burn is usually like your best way to get around that. But obviously, if you have a counter ID, you can't really do anything about that. Again, it's a very niche circumstance. Solos are, aside from one exception, that only just got introduced in Canto 9 Part 2, or not introduced, I'll just say it. Later on we'll be fighting, Fey Lantern. Fey Lantern does have some notes on it that are in New Canto that more or less say that the best way to deal with it is by soloing. It essentially says, what is the exact verb? It's like, you know, because Fey Lantern's big thing is it will, you know, it tracks your employees, or, you know, it lures them in, lures the employees in, or your centers in, makes them unable to do things, but if you only have one employee, it won't do that. So essentially, you ignore an entire gimmick by soloing. Again, soloing is not the intended way to play. It is an enjoyable way to play, don't get me wrong. But until they brought it up with Fey Lantern, it's not
something that's really like brought up by the game, especially considering that some of the earlier game just didn't even really work for solos. Primarily, I think of what the fuck is it called? Portrait of a Certain Day. No. Yes? Yes, Portrait of a Certain Day. Mirror Dungeon, it does not work properly. It uses old rules where it doesn't give you any skill slots. Or at least it's Railroad, I think. Escape pods to the surface, I heard about there's only one seat left. I said the next one's in 5 minutes. Look, I don't actually believe you hired me because you saw my potential or something like that. I don't want to believe you found the hope and potentialities because of me. A hope and anticipation that we can make things better as long as we keep at it. I can't leave you all behind. I can't just save my skin not without everyone. That's what Iron Man does it? Take the potentiality you found in their eyes. Take it with you to the surface. But you, Johan, what about you? Well, maybe next time. Some other time. Wrath is a hideous emotion. That's why I did nothing at the entrance of that branch. Only remembering. Nothing more. Remembering the ones I've left behind. I can sense the dungeon of the Fathom slowly beginning to close. I've returned. Safe and sound. Welcome back, boss. To be frank, I once wished to be someone like yourself, Heathcliff. What are you talking about? We don't want Heathcliff to be like Heathcliff. Because not easy to put my faith in, not in games of numbers, but in those slimmest potentialities of the world that continue to exist. I know it's not very befitting of a researcher to be so, but it is quite romantic attitude for a human to embody, is it not? Well, the experiment is over. It was a huge success, all thanks to us, right? No, it was a failure. I had established the hypothesis that the soul was to hold a firm belief in the self, and nothing else. And my hypothesis been correct, I would have remained a distortion. Thus, I would like to extend my gratitude to all of you. Thank you for making me fail. It seems that the classification for my distortion was He5SU. Disappointingly mediocre, but I suppose it can't be helped. The world is a place which we must find the rare potentiality among the mediocre after all. Let us move on now. Mephistopheles is prepared to depart. Hohenheim's researchers waved at us. We'll meet again, right? No, thank you. Everything has an end, so do consider this to be our final meeting. None to the last exchange, this guy. The last thing we saw before the portal activated were the LCE researchers pushing up their glasses in our general direction. They had only taken a step or two. The entire world around us seemed to transform, landing us back inside the transportation instrument. Now that I think about it, we didn't even get to learn why Gregor's bones made those creaking noises. All we learned from this experience is that the Slayers have become mediocre, but they each held certain potentialities within themselves. Each of us mulling over the events at the LCE, we returned to the bus where Charon and Virgilius were waiting for us. Honestly, that's something that I kind of realized with some of the stuff in the recent Canto, in Canto 9. Like, here's the thing, right? We are, at this point in the game, we are... That's definitely an incorrect playtime. We're probably about... I'd say we're a good, solid, like, 50 plus hours in. We are weak as hell. Like, we are not, like, LCB, the Sinners, we're all kind of weak. Again, level-wise, it seems like we're stronger than we are. I mean, we're almost at the level of Ricardo. But even then, Ricardo still kicked our goddamn asses. And he is quite literally a middle manager. He's a big brother, which is the third highest rank. Yeah, I believe so. Because I think it's like the great brother, great sister, and then I think it's like elder brother, elder sister, and then big, something like that. But ultimately, like, we're kind of weak as hell, and that's honestly my favorite thing about this. That even with all the strength that we have, even with how much we have visibly grown in power, but not just level-wise, but in terms of, like, the caliber of enemies that we have faced. We started off with going up against, the most basic rats. We start off by going against starving people of old G Corp, people who have been destitute for years at this point. And last canto, we're going up against blood fiends. Granted, starving blood fiends. We're going against blood bags. We're going against legitimate fixer offices. But again, not high-ranking ones. We're still weak in LCB. And I love the fact that we are weak. That we are kind of lame. It just makes things a lot more interesting to me. That we are kind of failures. Failures, that's a bit extreme, but you know what I mean. Next time, we do the first stuff that I can guarantee was released after I joined with Nocturnal Sweeping. But until then, see you guys later.